Okay, there we go. So the call started. Welcome, everybody. This is the Friday support call. I'm Stephen Carlson. I'm going to be managing the call as well as hosting, which is okay. So I just invite anybody who likes to either request assistance, maybe share a gain, ask a question, or you could even request a group release, totally up to you. All you have to do is just unmute, or you can raise your hand, either way. And if you don't want to say anything, well, we can enjoy silence too, which is also good. Oh, I see a hand up, Mr. Owen Donnelly. Welcome.
Hi, Stephen.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so I'd like a grip release or an exploration on releasing to control.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, actually, I think it's worth saying a word or two about that. And this could also be a conversation too, Owen. I think a while back, maybe even half a year more, this came up in conversation with somebody, and we realized that very often with releasing, there comes a sense of, oh my God, it feels like I'm just releasing forever and nothing happens sometimes. And so the insight is that releasing can also contain a desire for an outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just that you want to let go, right? But if it's like, if you're attached to that, then it's a sort of a hidden trap. There's a wanting of control built into it, or it can be, not in all cases, obviously. So for a lot of us, that's why we tend to lean more towards welcoming, which is much more open-ended. So that's what you're really getting onto, is that right? Oh, and that's the sense of it.
Absolutely, Stephen, you got it. Yeah.
Well, okay then. Without further ado, let's just have some fun with this then. And that's also a way I like to sometimes facilitate. Let's have some fun. There's no outcome here. I don't know where this is going, and it doesn't matter. So just for now, think of something perhaps that you'd like to work with as a topic, whatever that might be. A recent upset, a long-standing problem with a capital P, whatever it is, just allow yourself to think about that for a moment. Replay it in the mind like a recording, perhaps, but notice thoughts. Notice sensations in the body. And notice sensory perceptions. So just give this permission for a moment. Just allow this to be here. And then just check and see if there's something that you wanted to do about it. Because why wouldn't you? Any sense of that is simply, to give it a name, resistance, holding on, holding back, which is that right there. And then for fun, let's just take that leap. Could you let this go? Would you? When? So that's the invitation of the release, that we all understand the could you, would you, when, but check and see if there's any sense that this should go one way or the other, if this is a, how shall we say, if there's any attachment to an outcome. Notice that, if that's here. And if it's not here, don't make it up. No need for that. But then notice also What lies beyond that? Notice the openness, the ease, the release that always is. So in that sense, we talk about beingness, dressing as awareness. We use a lot of as the self or as love, yes? But in fact, this is release. So could you allow yourself to simply rest as the release, the openness that you are? And so then, check and see what's here. And just as best you can, allow yourself to welcome that in the form of thoughts, beliefs, dialogues, monologues, stories, sensations, perceptions. Could you let that go? Are you technically able to? Simple question, yes or no. Would you? And then check within that if there's any desire for an outcome, and let's just let that be okay for a moment. Any sense of wanting to control the outcome of your release, could you allow that? And just for a moment, and just as an experiment, would you be willing to allow that to be exactly as it is just for now? Just for now, and just as best you can, could you give that permission to be like that? And then if you're still willing, could you give that permission to be like that forever, if that's what comes? And only as best you can, and only for now. And if there's anything remaining, any holding on or holding back, don't make it up if there isn't. But if there is, check and see, is that you? Or is that possibly just a thought? Or perhaps even just a sensation in the body, or both? And could you allow that also to be just like that for now, and just rest as that, which you truly are, and allow yourself to be. Don't know, Owen, that's where it took us. I don't know if that took it in the right direction. What do you think? Okay, I see a thumb.
Quite perfect, Stephen. Quite
Wonderful,
perfect.
wonderful.
Especially the question, could you allow it to be like this forever? That was very good. Challenging, but very releasing as well. Yeah, it was lovely. A sense that almost the thing that perhaps I think that this has got to go. This has got to go. Yeah. So that piece, what it would be like to allow that forever, and then the thought came, yeah, well then you would just get used to it and you would accept it. So yeah, okay, I could leave. That'd be like that forever. That was really good. Yeah, really, really good.
And then, did it stick around forever? I mean,
well, it led to laughter. So
laughter.
So that's a release. Yeah.
Oh,
so
laughter.
Thank you, Stephen. That was beautiful. I really liked that. Thank you.
Thank you for an excellent question. Yeah. Or excellent request for release. Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen.
Good. I'm just, for some reason, inspired to ask, does anybody care to share a gain? Because that's also good fodder for, this kind of group. Gains are useful because oftentimes we forget, which isn't a bad thing. We forget where we've come from or what we've dealt with or let go of. And it can seem somehow like a slog, like where is this going? And yet the gains that we share with each other remind us, because also in some way they're universals, we're all dealing with the same issues actually, however intensely personal they can feel. Today I'm feeling great because I actually have my apartment clean and in order, and it's not always the case, but today it isn't for right now. So if anyone would like to share a gain, that's okay, or otherwise, any other kinds of requests, or just silence.
I have a game to share,
Nice.
which I would,
Mhm.
yeah. Um, so I wanted a house like of my own since a while, and I had no money like to, even pay the down payment. And I come from a very conservative family where girls do not get any inheritance, and I'm single. And something shifted, and my father has asked me to like look for a house for myself, and he is willing to buy me a house. And to me, this is like really, really like, a massive change, a miracle. This is nothing less than a miracle for me.
Of course.
So
Goodness. Congratulations.
thank you.
And thank you for
And
sharing.
I had like a lot of emotions for my father. I had been releasing. I mean, I'm rather new to the method, and I've been using the releases and the questions to clear that. Thank you.
Excellent. And I just have to ask you, does that also feel like an expression of love from your father?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
beautiful.
I mean, yeah. And I mean, this was something I had been asking for since forever, and it's like suddenly getting like something you really, really wanted. And yeah, thank you.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, don't speak up all at once.
Okay.
Please, please, please. Hello, Lisbeth. Oh, I think you need to unmute yourself. I can't do that for you, but there's a button in your lower left-hand corner. There you go.
Now?
You're perfect. Thank you.
All right. I thought it was the other way around. Okay, so yeah, I do have a gain. And the gain is like exactly what we were talking about, you and Owen were releasing about. And that's the question you asked him. How would it be if this would be forever like this? Yeah. And
Yes.
and I have a son who has autism, and he's already almost 40. But I'm in a pattern with him of, like doing stuff for him, and I'm always the one to fix it. And he knows that I'm always there. I drop everything when he needs me. And but
Dependency is the word, no?
yes. And this week I had I don't know exactly what happened, but I had this sentence in my head, like, can I now accept totally, like 100%, that this will be forever like this? And I wasn't talking about the pattern so much, but more about me wanting to change the pattern. Yeah. And that was such a relief. I felt like, oh my goodness. And it was as if every every feeling of me being responsible, me having to fix it, which I know with my mind, I know that that's silly. I mean, you know, I do releasing, I do coaching, everything. So I know it's just a thought, but it's a real pattern that is really, you know, it's being triggered all the time. So
Yeah.
now I could really welcome, what if this is just perfect the way it is? Yeah. And
Yeah.
that gave such a release. And you know, Stephen, the beauty of it was that like 10 minutes after this kind of epiphany or whatever it was, he came to visit me with some great message, and he was looking great, and he did something wonderful on his own, and blah blah blah. So, and then I really had this insight, like, yeah, you know, back off, you know, to myself with wanting to, you know, hold on to that. It's like it's like a wanting to hold on to the pattern that I became aware of, and I let go by realizing that if this is forever, you know, can I just accept that this is always good and perfect the way it is?
That's lovely. That really
Yeah.
is. And, you know, I mean, there's what comes up really is there's actually one more step if you'd like, you know,
Sure.
that might also be useful that
Yeah.
we can try as an experiment, which
Yes.
is also part of this as well too. So again, let me just ask though, I think if what I recognized in what you just told us was that you observed that the pattern came up again.
Yeah.
Your reaction, and yet you also saw that, and in that moment you also had more of a choice about whether to act out and continue along that path or whether just to let it be the way it was, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to put words into your mouth, but I think that's
No,
how
no,
I've
no.
experienced it and other people have as well, is that, you know, we always think that with releasing this pattern is going to go away and that's that. Well, yeah, maybe, maybe not. I mean, sometimes these are such deep, deep sort of tracks
Yes.
in your personality that, yeah. But once you see it the way it is and just really allow it to be that way, then you don't really have to go along those same ruts in the
Yeah.
road, so to speak. They can just be the way they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the insight. That was it. And that was not just an insight, it was like an immediately relaxing of my body. Yeah. Immediately, like within a nanosecond, it was like, what a relief. And
That's
then,
lovely.
yeah.
But also, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually the other way around in the sense that there was the physical release.
Yeah.
And then for very often we are looking for answers and understanding and explanations, and that's what traps us there. But as the release happens, then very often the explanation shows up. The insight comes, oh, it was like that because, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the last step I was suggesting is simply this. Isn't that just an expression of love? That pattern
Absolutely.
in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It may have developed in an unhealthy way, we can agree that, but in the other, how is that not an expression of love, even that? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah. And then there's so much gratitude for, you know, for everything, for the whole, thing. Yeah. For all of it, not just for a solution or, you know, or a result, but for everything.
Yeah.
That's really great. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, a hand comes up. David, nice to hear from you. Would you like to unmute and say something? You can also do video, up to you.
There, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Yes. Hi.
Cool. Hi there. Thought I'd give you some business here.
Right up.
Let's see. One thing that comes to mind that I've been wrestling with a little bit, my partner is wanting to make some changes around our house and remodeling and things like that. And I find that I've been very resistant to just the general idea of changing things around and moving things and throwing things out and stuff like that. So just a general sense of nah, I don't want to. So I could use a little help with that.
Yeah, okay. All right then. Yeah, so could you just allow it to come up again, that sense of it? Feeling disrupted, out of place, however it comes up. And just
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think your word there, disrupted. I think that really captures it. I feel like my peaceful life is going to be disrupted. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Would you believe that you're the only person I've ever met who was disrupted by moving or remodeling?
No, of course not.
Exactly. Yeah, raise your hand if you like moving. Anybody? Yeah. There's always one. Good, okay. Well, so just check inside and see what comes up now with the story of I don't want to move or be disrupted. And just notice, is it the same as it was before in intensity as it shifted?
It's about the same. I'd say it's like a sense of annoyance.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how annoyed are you? 10 would be the maximum.
I'd say probably 6.
Is that the best you can do? Really?
That's the best I can do right now.
Very
It's still
good.
early though.
Okay. So then could you just allow it to be like that for a moment longer and just notice what comes up? Could be thoughts, beliefs, stories. Or it might also show up as sensations in the body somewhere.
A sense of it feels like that sense of contraction has really just loosened up quite a bit. Just it doesn't seem quite so significant as it did 20 seconds ago.
Okay.
So I'm going in the opposite direction, Stephen. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on. I mean, that's... Well, let me ask you something else then. So would you say that this is more about sensations in the body or more about thoughts?
It doesn't feel well. I guess it is probably more sensations in the body, although it's hard for me to locate where in the body. I'm just, I just still have that a little sense of just feeling constricted, contracted.
So could you zoom in on that a
impermeable.
little bit? Yeah.
Mhm.
Could you actually just, you know how you take your phone and you pinch the screen? Could you zoom in? Uh-huh. Yeah. Could you do that even once again? When you're ready, one last time, just really blow it up and get it big in the viewfinder. Right. And could you give it permission to be like that just for now? And notice also if there are any thoughts connected, explanations of what this is, naming a feeling, a story, a a pattern. And as best you can, could you just allow this to be what it truly is, which is raw sensation with no description or meaning whatsoever? Would you be open to that?
Yeah, there aren't really any thoughts attached to it that I'm aware of. It's just the sensation.
Right. Well, so is it you, or are you that which is aware of sensation?
Doesn't feel like me right now. It feels like something's just one of those things that comes and goes.
Mm-hmm. Right. And would you just give it permission to do exactly whatever it needs to do? Could you?
Sure.
Would you? When?
Undid.
There you go. Yeah, and take a breath and just check and see what's here now.
Just peace. That's
Could you welcome peace and just allow peace?
yeah.
Nice. So very often we would stop with that if that feels appropriate. But if you'd like to, we can just welcome peace even a little further. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then just as best you can, and everybody else can take part in there too, to the best of your ability, just allow peace. And peace is there all the time, actually. Just a question of shifting focus. Could you allow peace? Yeah. And then whatever's in your awareness, to the best of your ability, could you let that go?
Sure.
And just to see what happens, would you?
Mm-hmm.
When?
Now.
Nice. Sometimes good feelings like peace can even be harder to let go of. And what happens when you do?
More peace.
So could you just for now rest as the peace that you are and allow that to be enough?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And just for now, could you let go of peace?
Yes.
And would you?
Yes.
When?
Now.
Okay. Well. So let's check here, David. Think about your partner's plans and how that might work out. Changing this, changing that, the comfort of the routine, the comfort of the space, and that word that we came up with, disruption. And check and see what reaction there might be. And notice whatever comes up. And if anything, could you just give it permission to be here? since it's here anyway, if it is.
Yeah, I think the thought that comes to mind is, sure, why not? Um, um, yeah, it feels like I'm just very open to that possibility now. Doesn't seem disruptive. Seems, let's see what's out there.
Yeah. Okay then. So are we good for now?
I am. Thank you, sir.
Okay then, sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Nice. Would anybody else like to step up? Or shall we enjoy a little silence and peace? Oh, I think I see Leva's hand.
Yeah, hi Stephen.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too, all of you. Well, I do have a topic that I could use some assistance or maybe a group release or so on. It's about time pressure, the feeling of time pressure. So it might be that it's quite unique for me, or there might be some other people in the group that experience that from time to time. So that's
No,
why
Leva, I'm sure it's only you, actually. I can't imagine anybody else.
yeah, I think so as well. No, but that's why I said like maybe it's nice for a group release if you feel like it.
Why not? I do think that's a universal topic, and I think you know it is as well. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I can even just share a little that I think you'll relate to this. There's actually, for me, there's been a sense of, in the morning you look at the clock or check the time and it's, 7 o'clock in the morning, which is early, 8 o'clock, fine. Ooh, 10 o'clock, ooh, 11 o'clock, it's starting to get late. And as the hours pass, there's that sense of, I haven't got enough done, or, boy, the day's getting by.
Mm-hmm.
That's the feeling we're talking about. And I'm looking now I can see you're smiling. Yes, that's the feeling we're talking about. So could that just be here?
Yeah. And can I add one more thing, Stephen?
Oh, of course.
Like you said, it's indeed that way. And also, for instance, we're in the morning and you think, at that time later on in the day, there's something scheduled. And then there's already a contraction.
Exactly.
Even though
before you even got out of bed. Yes.
Yeah, and there's not even something to be contracted about, but there's like that that time pressure as well. So that might be included as well. Thank you.
Oh,
But
I think we all agree. Yeah.
I'll turn off my mic now. Thank you, Stephen.
Of course. Yeah. So, that sense that even though it's early, I've still got that thing to do today, and I don't want to, and the clock is ticking. So could that just be here, that feeling? And we all have our own versions of that. In conversation, when you want to make somebody hurry up, all you have to say is, tick tock. So could you allow the pressure of time? We even notice when people check the clock. check their watch, their wristwatch, check their computer screen. Notice the feeling of urgency, of pushing, even in the word time. And then notice also the resistance, the pushing back. I don't want to. And then notice how the struggle with time is part of creating that sense of me, struggling against a world of pressure and of clocks. But since that feeling's here, could that also be allowed? Could you open yourself even to that? But then notice also, is any of this you? Check and see. Are you those feelings in the body? Are you those thoughts that pass through awareness? And notice what comes up, the space, the emptiness, and allow yourself to rest as that, a moment. And then everybody has a deadline, everybody has a task, everybody has a chore, an errand, a job. And notice what comes up now that I've said these things. Notice the pressure, how it expresses as thoughts, images and sounds, stories, patterns, beliefs. Notice how all this plays out in the body. That very, very low level but very subtle feeling of tension, always in the background. The contraction, the clenching, the soreness, the tiredness, those pockets of sensation that come up with that feeling of time, pressure, tick, tock. And since all of this is here, can you just give it permission to be as it is? It's here anyway. Just for now. And then shift your attention to that feeling of no that comes up. I'm not going to. I'm going to lie in bed. I'm going to show up late. I'm going to drag my feet. And just give that permission, if that's here. Allow that expression. And notice also, this could also have images and sounds, thoughts and beliefs, stories of resistance, and also sensations in the body. And so now let's go back and forth a bit, loosen things up a bit. Notice again the sense of time pressure, whatever it is, my to-do list, that damn meeting, whatever it is. And then the pressure, the resistance, the feeling of no, the dragging of feet. And then the pressure of time, checking my watch, looking at my schedule. And then the feeling of hell no. Let's watch YouTube. Let's go on Facebook. Whatever it is. And then the pressure of time, the forgotten appointment. I'm 60 years old and I still have nightmares occasionally that come up about forgetting to show up for a class and there's an exam. We all have those kinds of memories, dreams, fantasies, nightmares. I forgot my anniversary. Then the feeling of no, digging in my feet, resisting. But then notice also the emptiness, the quiet, and the spaciousness that surrounds all this. Notice also the silences between the words. Notice also the freedom, the emptiness, and the peace, which is right here, right now. How does that feel, Leva?
Yeah, this was really nice.
You're speaking to an expert procrastinator.
Okay. But there were a lot of questions that resonated, and I let go of wanting to hold on to them. But there was one who was still somewhere in the beginning. That can you allow the pressure of time? That was like, yeah, a really nice release. Yeah, I feel there's a lot of gratitude and a lot of spaciousness in this moment. So thank you, Stephen. I'm glad I asked you to do a group release about this topic.
It's a wonderful topic, and I've released on it endlessly. And I think it's something that so many of us, if not all of us, feel intimately each and every day, really. And it's, by the way, I'll just remind you that this is recorded and will be available for replay if you want to go back and use it again. So, excellent question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I see Michael's hand is raised. Good to hear from you. How are you?
Hello, Stephen. It's been a while. I'm feeling quite good. I would like a check-in, please, just a general seeing what's happening.
Well, then let's do that. Are you ready?
Sure am.
Just as best you can, allow yourself to be here. Let things drop. Have a breath or two. And simply notice what is. And check for any sense of no. If that comes up, could you allow it? And whatever came up, could you let that go?
Mm. Yeah.
Shall I repeat the question?
Yeah. I
Would
know.
you let that go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When?
Yeah.
So what's here now?
I think there's still some holding on.
Could you hold on even more? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even more. So if that's what's coming up, could you just give it permission, just for now? Mm-hmm.
Can you ask me about holding on even more again?
Of course. Well, could you hold on even more? Would you hold on even more?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah.
And could you hold on even just a little bit more? And let that be okay.
Mm.
And here's a question.
Mm.
Is it possible this too is love? Would you be open to that possibility?
It's a stretch, but yeah.
Of course. The mind goes, what? But isn't it possible this too is love? Isn't it possible?
It's a possibility. Everything is possible.
So could you welcome this as love?
Yeah.
Just as best you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
In fact, the real question is, would you allow it to be what it truly is? There's nothing for you to do except for recognize what it is. Could you allow it to be love? Just notice love.
There's a stuckness there. Yeah.
Could you welcome the stuckness and give it permission to?
Mm.
And could you honor that stuckness as best you can?
Yeah. Yes.
And what if that were love? I'll accept that as an answer.
Yeah.
And could you welcome stuckness even more?
Yes. Definitely.
And could you celebrate stuckness? Give it a hero's welcome.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And just for now, could you give yourself permission to be as stuck as you might seem to be?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And can you also notice the freedom within that stuckness?
Possibly, yeah.
Again, it didn't have to make sense, did it? It just is.
Yeah.
And so could you welcome stuckness even more as an old friend?
Yes. Yes.
That's right. And could you pour a cup of tea for stuckness and welcome stuckness to the table? Just like
Yeah,
that.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's just check and see what's here now.
Doing good. Yeah, lovely.
Right. Cool. That was a fun
Good.
little path we took just now. Thank you so much for the question.
You're welcome.
That was great.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Steve. Lovely to talk to you again. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, good to see you. Status, I see your hand. There you are.
Hello, hello.
Good to see you. Good to hear you.
Yeah. So I would like to go back to Liva's question
Excellent.
because there I sense something coming up, and that something is actually, as you were talking about the clock ticking, I sense that it was not only the time that was passed and we didn't do what we had to do somehow, but also what is coming next. And let me be more specific.
Please.
Yeah. There was a sense of fear of death. And I somehow feel that this preoccupation with time and to feel the time and to do many things has something of the fear of death inside, at least for me.
Okay.
And yeah. Now, I don't know what exactly the question is, but perhaps we could do some release on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so first let me just say that, yeah, you're completely, I see things in a similar way as well. So what is resistance except fear? It's the same thing in my experience. Resistance and fear are really just two names for the same thing. The no and the resistance and the fear are all ultimately the fear of death. Any fear can be reduced to the fear of death. Whatever it is, I'm afraid I have a deadline that I'm going to miss. Oh, okay, well, so what? What happens then? And that's how you can explore your fears to reach the ultimate fear, right? Which is death. So what happens if you don't do your homework? Oh, well, then I fail school. Okay. Well, what happens if you fail school? Well, then I won't get a good job. Well, then what happens? You see where this is going?
Mm-hmm.
Then I won't earn enough money. Well, then what happens? Then I end up on the street homeless. And then what happens? It just continues along and along. The more that you challenge your fears and ask what's behind them, what happens, it all leads to the fear of death ultimately. So really, could you just allow yourself to welcome fear? And that is absolutely any kind of resistance to anything, any kind of objection or sensation in the body that comes up. Could you simply welcome that?
Yes.
And then could you allow it to be like that?
Yeah.
Would you give it permission to be like that forever?
well, it actually released. Yeah. Yeah. And I would like also to say about Owen's question that it is very powerful when we just release, not for a certain outcome. It goes much deeper and it feels much more like freedom. And I think that was what was previously happened, and I felt the release happened. The release happened very easily. That release.
Good.
Mm.
I think for most of us, we start releasing because we're suffering, we're unhappy, we want to change something. And so very often we come to this with a problem, an issue, a question. But over my experience, it begins to feel more like a pulling, if you will, rather than a pushing away from. Pushing away from, I want to solve this problem, get rid of this, let go of that, and suffering. And more like, again, a pulling towards. Because, yeah, sometimes, well, we just had the experience in the call. Letting go of peace brings us what? Where do we go with that? Letting go of the good feelings takes us even higher. And so we end up, I think, in my experience, being drawn towards rather than pushing away from. So I don't know where that takes us, but that's what I just felt inspired to say, Stathis. So is that it for now?
Yes.
So now this is an interesting part of the call because I've always told the hosts of the Friday support call that we do this for an hour to an hour and a half. It just depends upon what the need of the group is. And so I notice now that we've been doing this call for an hour. What happens next? And I also have to say that I enjoy the richness of silence sometimes. Well, that just might be the natural end of the call, and that's okay with me. So,
Michael has raised his hand.
oh, I didn't see Michael's hand. Please, Michael. Thanks.
Yeah, I just I actually have to go quite soon as well, but I thought it'd be quite interesting if no one else is, just to explore if there's been a change since the release, and to see what's here now.
Well, in that case, of course, could you just allow yourself to welcome what's here now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And check, is it okay like that for now?
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't know. That sounds like an
Yep.
answer.
It sure does. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I can't think of a better way to end the call. That's nice. Good, good. So next week's call is going to be hosted by Reva Siebold. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to say. I think that's it. Thank you for joining us. And let me go ahead and, I see a thumbs up from Evelyn. Thank you. I'm just going to stop the streaming. And there we go.
Have a great weekend, everyone.